Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of Life Chronicles and Deep Dives podcast. I'm here with Coach Cornelia, and she is in Denmark right now. How are you doing, Cornelia?
Everybody. I'm fine, Mika. Thank you. How about you?
I'm doing
You
okay. It's been a
Yeah,
very tough week
I know.
for America.
It was, yeah.
So before we kind of like dive into this, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then check out our links in the description box below for our website. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section. We are going to be talking about a very sensitive subject today. We're going to be talking about the assassination and death of Charlie Kirk, a political activist figure, well respected. He was big in the MAGA movement, and we're going to cover a lot of topics on that. I'm hoping that we can get through as much deep diving of it as we can, to try to bring us back to humanity, because right now there's a lot of negativity happening across the globe. Also, this week is was the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Centers. So it's been a very sombering week. Very tragic events that have happened and transpired. Um, the last episode we talked about like what makes people want to kill other people. And, I kind of had a feeling. I was just watching this show and I've talked about this, and it just came over me like, what makes somebody want to take somebody's life, an innocent life, unarmed, non-combatant. And, I had this feeling that we needed to talk about it. And, I mentioned it
Yeah,
to you.
yeah, you told me, and I was like, what is he talking about? Why does he want to talk about this? And somehow, after what happened, it was like you had a premonition or something like this, because usually we don't talk about these kind of things, like darker things in our podcast, right?
Yeah.
So after a series of very light and relaxed podcasts, you came up with this topic, and for me it was like, what? Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just had this feeling that that's something we needed to talk about. And then the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated and shot, uh, I had called my wife in the morning and I was just like, man, I'm sad. And I couldn't really place a finger on it. She's leaving for military service soon, but I'm not sad about that. But it was just like this immense weight that I was feeling all morning. So I
Yeah.
called her and like we talked about it, and even when she asked me, several times, I just couldn't put a finger on what it was. And then you messaged me all the way in, and usually I'm on top of it. And then you messaged me all the way from Denmark, and you're like, I'm not sure who this is, but you know, uh, somebody shot him. So I started to look at it, and the videos were surfacing on the internet, some very saddening, very traumatizing videos. So I suggest that if you haven't already seen them, don't go looking for them. It's not healthy, but I did see them over the course of just looking for information. And I called my wife back and I texted her and I was like, hey, look, somebody shot Charlie Kirk.
Mm.
And it was just like a moment of disbelief. So like I didn't believe it. Um, I don't think she believed it right away. But on that note, I'm actually going to bring her onto the podcast, and then I'm going to let her tell you, the viewers, just kind of like what we went through that day, and then her views. So I'm going to let my wife join us. Kiah.
A sad moment to meet you, but nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So yeah, Micah was saying about how it was a Wednesday that he was just very sad all morning. He had texted me. He was like, I don't know exactly what's going on. I'm just feeling this type of way. I'm feeling sad and I can't really figure out why I'm feeling sad. And so, I kind of went through my work day, and when I got off, I had some errands to run. And then he texted me a link. I'm sure it's the one that you sent him of Charlie Kirk getting shot. And like he said, don't go looking for the video. It's not a healthy video to watch. But yeah, so Charlie Kirk had got shot. We were doing some research and trying to figure out if it was real because, like he said, we were in disbelief. Like, could this be fake? Did this really happen? Kind of thing. And unfortunately, it was real. And I think that filled us with a lot of anger in the beginning when we first saw it. We were very angry. We were sad, but it was more of an anger feeling. Why would somebody do this? When he was just using his voice to debate with college students. He never had any weapons. He had his bodyguards, but no, he never did anything harmful physically to anybody, maybe challenged them mentally, and challenged their beliefs, but he never would do anything to hurt anybody else. And so for somebody to assassinate him, it was a big moment of disbelief. A lot of anger, like I keep saying, it was a lot of anger. But then, Micah had left work early, not necessarily uh because of the shooting, but it's just something that he wanted to do. He wanted to come home. He wanted to be able to feel his feelings not at work. And so he came home. We talked about it. We looked more into it together, and it was just a really hard day for us as Americans to have to witness something like that.
I'm sure.
We prayed that night, not necessarily for Charlie, because at that point we found out that he had died. It was confirmed that he had died. And we just prayed for Erica and his two small children. And it was very hard. Even the next day, it was a lot of anger, it was more sadness that day. Like, we realized it kind of like clicked, we're not going to be seeing any new videos from Charlie. And I
Yeah.
think the day after is kind of when it hit for a lot of us. There was a lot of tears that night, but also the day after. At least for me, I don't know about you, but yeah, it was a sad day, the second day.
Yeah, it wasn't the most pleasant, and it was very hard to kind of like go through it. Not the trauma from the video. Again, like I said, that video is very graphic, and I'd advise not looking for it. When I look at the ramifications of this, right? The immediate response was, like the disbelief, the anger, like the moving through the grief process. After that, we shift into the kind of like thinking about it. Because Charlie was on one side of the aisle, it was a little bit different from the other side, right? So the left was, rationalizing, justifying. The right was very sad, looking for theories, but there was also that anger that was also directed at the left, trying to find out who did it and like why they did it, or who was, responsible, whether the media was responsible, whether, you know, certain individuals, certain thought processes and ideals came into play, which is being revealed by the investigation.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think over in Europe about that?
First of all, let me ask one thing if she would like to answer. Is it something that Micah does from time to time? Like, does he feel things before things happening?
Yeah, so he has a really good intuition.
Mm.
I'm not sure exactly how to explain it. There's been a multitude of times where he feels something, not necessarily sadness all the time, but he gets this moment of intuition where it's like something is going to happen. And at first on the Wednesday on September 10th, he said he was sad, and I was like, okay, why? And he just couldn't tell me. He was like, I'm not sure why. I just feel this heavy feeling, this heavy sadness.
Mm.
And like I said, there's been a lot of other times that this has happened. I believe when Trump got shot at and he got shot on the ear, I believe that was another one of the days that he was like, I can just feel something is going to happen.
Wow,
Uh,
that's
yeah,
interesting.
it is very interesting. He has very good intuition.
We should
Yeah,
use him
I
in
know.
some way.
I would prefer not to be locked up in a lab as a science experiment, but that does. I mean, I don't know how to explain it because I couldn't pinpoint a location or a date or a time, or who or what it is. I can just, it's a feeling. Sometimes it's a feeling about, like when my ex-girlfriend was like trying to take me to court for all these things that she had made up in her head, and like the conspiracy to have me shot at the gate. Like that day, that night, before I had found out about like all these things coming in, um, this this feeling of, I looked at Kiah and I was like, I think she's gonna do something. I think she's gonna get a protection order against me. And like, obviously the protection order got, tossed out of court because I was able to, prove that she was lying to the court system. But still, like the whole feeling of it coming was there. So I actually, in that instance, I pinpointed exactly what was coming before it even hit. I can't do that all the time.
Yeah, unfortunately. Maybe you can be used in some circumstances.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
we joke a little bit, but I know the situation is really bad over there.
it's very, yeah, it's very tragic. Thank you for joining us.
So you asked me, how did this feel in Europe? Um, First of all, I sent you that link and I told you that he was shot, and I didn't know who he was by the name. Then when I saw the videos and everything about him, I remembered that I've been watching him for a while. Um, so yeah, I know who that guy was, and what is shocking for me, Mike, and I'm trying to keep a balance in life and in everything, in opinions
Mhm.
and in everything. What shocks me is that so many people are so happy about someone else dying.
Mhm.
I, I, I mean, you can only kill someone to defend yourself, and that's, the last, how is it called? The last thing to do. But
Mhm.
otherwise, to kill someone because you don't agree with it, with that person, to be happy about it, to enjoy someone else's death, to enjoy a family left without a father, without a husband. Uh, and it's the same in Europe, so people are enjoying this. Yeah,
So,
from
I mean,
that.
I did see across the globe a lot of outpouring of support as well. So, in
Yeah.
different countries, I mean, Tommy Robinson even got together millions of people. I know that the European media, British media, tried to downplay the amount of people
Yes,
that showed up. That was
yeah.
massive.
They're they're always trying to downsize the numbers
Yeah.
when it comes
Um,
to this part, you know.
right. And so you're right. So like we went from, I was there, I was watching it every minute, every day, all the way up until they caught the guy. And now we're learning more and more of, his ideology, which came from left wing,
Mm-hmm.
thought processes, right? Trans ideology was in there as well because it was on the bullets
Yeah.
that he used. Now, uh, I'm not point. I don't want to direct anger because it looks like there's a lot of anger happening, right? There's a lot of people getting fired because they've been happy or supportive of this assassination, which I am against. Like I don't. There's the rationalization and justification is well, you weren't sad for this. Well, I'm that there's a reason why I wasn't sad because I'm not connected to it. Do I think that like, these left-wing politicians that were killed in their home deserved it, or they should have died, or it's okay. No, absolutely not. I don't believe that any political violence should be occurring, which is something that Charlie believed in. He said, we have to keep talking, because as soon as, we stop talking, that's when, the violence starts to happen. When I look at what's happening online, there's two main camps. We're very divided as a nation when it comes to this. There are
let me interrupt you a second. It's
yeah.
the same. It's exactly the same in Europe. We
Mhm.
are very divided at this point, exactly like in the United States. The same ideologies are fighting between each other.
Mhm.
Exactly the same thing here.
And I think we've seen an uptick in political assassinations in Europe as well, if I'm not mistaken. Which is all bad, right? We talked about in the last episode, why do people do it? Political is one of the reasons. Do I agree that that should be a reason? No, we should be debating. And one other thing is that I I am for being able to defend yourself with violence. Absolutely believe in the Second Amendment, but I also absolutely believe in the First Amendment. And when I look at this assassination, it was an attack on the First Amendment. Charlie went to colleges to debate. He didn't go to colleges to make people do anything. So when I look at these people that are like, oh, he believed that women shouldn't work, or, he believed that, trans people, shouldn't be proliferated, right? So, I mean, when I look at those words and I also look at how people feel about it, a lot of people felt like Charlie was erasing them. And I think that comes straight from the ideology. They're being taught that if he doesn't like them, that he is erasing them. And I don't think that's the case. I think that that is a great setup by one political side to justify actions. If they can get people to believe that they're being erased, then those people that believe they're being erased have this existential dread. They then feel justified to act on that, thing. But Charlie was just using words. He didn't use a sword, fist, or a bullet. He used his words, and that's different. He was a non-combatant.
Exactly. Yeah, he was. So I'm not a big fan of him. I have to be honest with you. I'm always searching for the middle, always trying to balance things. At the same time, even if I hated him, right? Even if I didn't agree with any of his ideas, because there are some ideas of his that I like, and some that I don't, right? So even if I didn't like any of his idea, I would never thought about doing something like this, So you have to be, and I'm gonna add this to why are people killing? Because they're crazy. So this is one of the main things. Uh, Crazy in what sense, Mike? It's like you cannot have a rational thought, right? You cannot distinguish manipulation from reality. You cannot distinguish or you cannot understand what the person that was debating, in this case, Charlie Kirk, what he's really saying. Because I've seen many people saying he said this or he said that, and I was watching, trying to find those declaration of his, and it was not true. It's like they're taken out of the context, So I've always said, try to see from that person's mouth. Like they were saying about Trump, a lot of things, and I was telling my mom, I don't know if you remember, just try to see what he is saying. Yeah, don't read what others are saying about what he is saying, And it's the same in here. So someone who cannot make this difference, then I don't feel that they can function in society. So they're doing this kind of
Well, they're
crazy.
wild cards. They're just being, I mean, like we talked about, the education system is just this massive machine to pump out these people.
Yeah.
And so the problem being is that if your education system is making people this way, that's dangerous. There's been an uptick in rationalization of this political violence, and part of that is society's like distracted away from stuff. I also don't agree with everything that Charlie Kirk says, for instance, on the religious aspect, but we prayed because Charlie, out of respect for Charlie, because that's, right. I think that the difference between the both political sides is when one side uh, loses somebody, not either side. If they're a political figure, right, or an outspoken, they have a social media presence, which Charlie did, massive presence, right? The side that's with that individual can connect with them. They're seeing them more. They're believing. They're listening. They're having this thought process about the individual, while the other side doesn't have that same process. So they're able to rationalize and justify or take, arguments that they have against the other, side. When I look at that, that's where we're getting all this animosity. I've watched, there's people, I haven't unfriended people, but I've watched people celebrate. I've watched people rationalize and justify, talking about how Charlie mentioned the Second Amendment, shooting violence is necessary to protect the Second Amendment or something like that. And I've watched, celebration. Like I didn't unfriend any of those people. I've watched people that have said, hey, look, if you enjoyed this, unfriend me. I've watched it just create this massive divide. And even you remember that lady I was talking to you about that I had that argument with about Europe, and she was talking about femicide, and then eventually I helped her, source this stuff, and she was thankful. I haven't talked to her about this, but that even shows that even after people had a disagreement, like she and I did, I was able to still break down that barrier and engage with her and help her out, even though the way that she treated me was not the greatest. She needed help, I provided. And so when we look at how people are acting now, whether they're laughing, celebrating, rationalizing, justifying, I think we need to move closer to humanity. All people need to come, closer together when it comes to this. And so like some people are saying times, for action and, all of these things, but it keeps driving that wedge in between people rather than breaking down that barrier.
Yeah, you are talking about not unfriending someone because of their opinions. And I've seen those videos with please unfollow me if you don't like this or whatever. And I was, what are you going to do? Are you going to get in touch only with people who agree with you? Are we going to stop talking to each other? Are we going to stop being like defending our point of views? Because the progress comes from this kind of debates, right?
Correct.
You stop it. So you want to be in your bubble with your people and never hear anything, any other opinion again? I find this so crazy. At the same time, I'm not, um, I mean, like this side has the right to freedom of speech. They have the same right to freedom of speech.
Yes.
But so I agree with this 100%. But at the same time, there has to be a limit. I mean, I agree that you have the freedom of speech, but I don't think that enjoying somebody else's death is is a part of the freedom of speech. I don't know how it
Well,
is
that's a
over there.
moral argument versus like a legal argument. So like if you like, so that's like Charlie was religious. They have like a moral outlining. I don't follow the church. He does, but that moral, I believe Ben Shapiro said this, that moral compass that most people have in Western civilization is based off of Christian values. So, like, yes, First Amendment speech is protected, but this is where we get that slippery slope of hate speech. Now, the left has been saying that hate speech is an attack for several years. And what I see is that if they can get people that are moving through this educational machine or ideology machine to believe that they're being erased or attacked by speech, right? But we're throwing out sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. We're going to sticks and stones and words will hurt me. If we function as a society like that, then that's an additional way for them to rationalize, justify political violence. If somebody says something you don't like, you can kill them. That's not right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know where did we go from strong-minded, independent thinkers to just falling in line, or succumbing to the degradation of society that we're seeing. Um, I don't know where it goes. And it falls back to the question. It's like, why do people do this? Why did he do this? Because his belief system, the killer's belief system, allowed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I had one mention that I want to make, that you said don't watch the movie, the movie with the video with the when he was shot.
I'm
I say
advising people to not watch it because it is traumatizing, but if they want to, yeah.
I'm advising them to watch it. I want everybody to see how traumatizing this can be. And I want everybody to be shocked, but they don't seem, I mean, they don't seem to be shocked, right? Um, I'm not sure that the people that are very happy now have seen the movie, but I don't think that someone who is really who is really human cannot be moved by what happened there. I mean, I would love everyone to see that video. I don't agree for it to be taken out of the social media, because we should see what might happen when the
Mm,
politicians are not stopping from seeking for their own interests without caring about what's happening in society.
mhm,
So this should be a wake-up call, but it's not a wake-up call. And yeah, from my point of view, we should all watch that video on repeat and learn something from it. What I'm afraid of is that you ask why did things got here? It's because these new generations that are coming after us are schooled in a different way than we were.
mhm.
They have different ideologies in their minds. So I've seen a few days. I've seen two girls. They had tails, right? So this is these are I'm not judging them, but these are the people that are doing this, are enjoying what's happening now.
Mhm.
S- Yeah, I don't know what to say. I think everybody should see that video and learn from it. Learn that. I mean, this is not like this is saying that it's a tragedy. It's not enough, because it's something that impacts the whole. I mean, the whole planet,
Mhm.
not only America.
Absolutely. And like, I agree that if we learn from it, then seeking the video is, it's fine. It's just when I look at that, I just when I saw it, I've seen something like that in person. So I know how, that was a very tough time. Um, when we look at society now, I would call it the narcissism of society. We're super distracted. We're viewing everything through screens. We're not connected through humans. We're losing our, I don't even believe in, the religious systems to me are like control schemes, right? So I don't follow that, but we're as a society stepping away from the moral aspects of those things, right? Which is, can degrade society. Um, you're seeing people rationalize, justify, they're accepting that political violence is okay at a higher rate.
Yeah.
Charlie was there to debate, which is like the building block of this country. And by killing him, assassinating him, shooting him through the throat, that was a message. I don't know if it was intentional, but essentially disarming the man and killing him at the same time was it's very powerful, very moving, very dangerous, um, unacceptable. In America, if we have differing views, we debate about it. But here's the difference. I do not advocate for violence. I'm very capable of violence, but I'm peaceful, right? It takes a lot to get me. Like I have to be defending somebody else, defending myself physically, if somebody's verbally attacking me, defending myself, using my words. If we don't agree with somebody, we should be moving away. I'm not saying move out of state, but like mentally move away. If you're having an argument with somebody, move away. Charlie was there. This in a place this individual could have came and expressed his views. Instead of moving away or expressing his views, he eliminated the person. And if you remember Star Wars, strike me down, I will become more powerful than you'll ever imagine. That's kind of what's happening. That's what happened with Trump as well.
Yeah. I think that was the moment when Trump won the elections. So yeah, and then I've seen that Charlie's TikTok, I think TikTok has now 10 millions followers. He had 2.4 before he was assassinated. So yeah, you said that we shouldn't we shouldn't put the blame on someone. I think we should put the blame on someone, and we should blame these very hungry politicians. I'm not talking about any side. All of them are the same.
Yeah.
And we should blame them because they are the first responsible for what's happening. They and the institutions of the state, right? The government, I don't know, the schools, the hospitals, even because many people are not treated right these days in the hospitals and so on, like the mental problems, so they should be the first to blame. They are the ones that are encouraging this. I think they want to get something out of it. I'm not sure what they want to get something out of it, but I think they want to get something out of it.
I think you're right. I think politicians, I mean, I've heard both sides. We need to turn down the rhetoric, or, one side was like, this is an individual action. This man, the killer, the assassin, made a choice, premeditated, executed the action, and then fled. I've looked at our politicians get away with pretty bad rhetoric, both sides, right? I've also seen an uptick in left-wing pushes towards calling, right people fascists, Nazis. The left the right calls the left, I mean, if you look at it, there's a lot of socialism that they're advocating for. So, I mean, it's it's kind of you kind of got to call them what you see, but you also need to remember, like, just calling somebody a name doesn't mean that they deserve to be shot, right? Just because somebody is something else doesn't mean that they deserve to be killed. You just move away from them, right? You group with people that you like, but also you have to be willing to reach out and understand the different viewpoints across the world, right? So I understand where they're saying these things, but I also understand the manipulation that's being put out by the politicians. The politicians, right? Nancy Pelosi just came out and says we can't be responsible for the actions of other person. And I was thinking in my head, like, she just spent how many millions of dollars trying to impeach Trump for exactly what it's like when we look at hypocrisy, it's viewed from each side is viewing the other side as hypocritical. And when I look at the power dynamics of it, You're right. I wonder if that is part of like, I don't want to use the word simulation, but part of the play, part of the thing that they're using to drive political power. So the like the education system is now less educating. It's more of a political machine than it is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Higher education. Uh, when I look at politicians coming out, or people that are now like saying, "Hey, well, you weren't sad when this happened," and I can point to that directly because I think I touched on this earlier, is that like each side follows their own people. They're
Mm-hmm.
connected to those individuals more than they're connected to people from the opposite side. So, each side is going to have their sad moment and their, like their people that they follow. The politicians definitely do have more to blame because they've inspired like this violence. Um, they've managed to flip the power from the people and into the government. And so when the top down kind of like is telling the masses what the problems are in the United States of America, it's the people that are in charge of their government. But when the government's telling the people what the problem is, then they're controlling the masses. So you're right. I wonder if there's like some sort of power dynamic here at play. I mean, there was a lot of theories floated, like, and this is switching off of that. There's a lot of theories floated right after he got shot. Even me and you talked about it. The throat shot, distance. I said it was a high-powered rifle at distance, right? I was like, there's a possibility that's a pro, right? Some people don't even know that that exists, right? I mean, like, there's it does. And then, but it turns out it was, some kid that was inspired by, left-wing ideology, trans ideology, um, thought that words were violence and then
Mm-hmm.
acted upon it with actual violence.
They said Trump is a Nazi, and everyone on the right side of things is a Nazi. So imagine that young boy, let's say he was passionate of his history and he read about Hitler. And
Mhm.
the left wing always, at least in the elections, they always said Trump is Hitler, the new Hitler, the new Hitler, the new Hitler, the
Threat
Nazi,
to
Nazis.
democracy,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, they're gonna
yeah,
lose the country, those kind of things. Yeah.
exactly. So this affects people even if you're not young.
Hmm.
It still affects you. You still get scared of this kind of rhetoric, right?
Hmm.
So when you're younger and you're in this situation where you're not accepted by society and so on, it affects you even more.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't blame that kid directly. Of course he did it, but I wouldn't blame him directly, but the manipulation that is behind it. And I
Hmm.
told you about me being so happy for Conchita Wurst who won Eurovision in here, who was a transgender, and I was so happy about her doing it. And I came from that place, and I came here where I don't want to hear about those people. Uh, exactly because they exaggerated. I mean, they took over the society with this going into sports, right? Going
Hmm.
into jails and pretending that they feel like a woman that then I mean it's the case in UK and Ireland. They had some convicted criminals for rape and they decided that they want to be a woman and the judges moved them with a woman in the prison.
Hmm.
So it's like taking the wolf to the sheeps, right?
Yeah.
So this is something that drove me from the part where I was supporting them to the part where I'm not, I just don't want to have anything to do with it anymore, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
Because
But
it
you're
was
not
too
you're not advocating for violence against them. You're not
much.
right. Yeah. You're just
Yeah,
moving away mentally
yeah.
and physically away from, yeah.
I'm moving because these extremist situations, So I feel that at this point everyone is extreme, and I don't like this. This is why I'm trying to move away from everything and just it's really hard to think with your own mind these days. Very, very
Hmm.
hard. That's what I'm trying to do. And I advised everyone to do it. And the people who are enjoying somebody else's death, they should think about if they're really happy about it or they are doing it just for followers. This might be a situation as well. Are you willing to give up your morals just for some success on social media for a while?
Mhm. I like I said to swing all the way back to like the last episode where people like I'm just like why are people doing it? And this episode it's pretty clear cut why. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when I look at this situation and I'm like looking online and I see all the anger, and I see all of it, I can understand more of the why, right? I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm saying that as a society, we are moving away from, I would say, we're advancing technology, we're advancing all these other stuff, but we're also losing our humanity. We're
Mm-hmm.
moving away from civilization almost. It's almost like we've talked about this, I think last season, the de-evolution of society, where like all of these factors, the manipulation, the food, the medicines, the environmental factors, all play a factor on society, politicians, pushing agendas, ideologies in schools. The degradation of society
Mm-hmm.
is causing a lot of problems, but because people can gain power from it, nobody's really stopping it. I mean, the Trump administration is doing their best they can to stop the degradation of society, right? Crime in big cities, the transgender ideology, which we've talked about is a deviancy against what your nature is. The human purpose on the world, you can make a purpose for yourself, but the human purpose on is just like any other animal, to pass your genetic code forward, right? If you're not doing that, you're deviating from what you're supposed to be doing, right? But why are politicians pushing this? Why are all the drugs coming into play? What's happening with the food and obesity? Like all of these things are creating this de-evolution of society. It's making this huge pot of people that are, like there's the poverty divide, this huge pot of people, racial divide, that are just next to each other, that are intolerant, that are unable to function with people. I work with people that hate me. I've worked with people that hate me. I faced down a smear campaign from my ex who used it to turn people that I know against me, get me fired, almost get me killed. I faced these things. Those people, I don't get mad at them, right? I don't think about trying to kill them or attacking them. I didn't think about that with my ex-girlfriend after everything that she's done. So like those thoughts do not cross my mind. But for this individual to take that shot, they did. Charlie was for a traditional society, right? So for him, going back to the traditional Christian values, which is the way he lived his life, is the way he wanted to be remembered for his faith. He's lived on by his wife, Erica, and their two children. He's got a big legacy with Turning Point USA. They're expanding, right?
Yeah.
He wanted a society that was free, that was based on moral values, but he didn't make laws. He didn't punish
Who-
people,
Yeah.
right?
He
Right?
did. Yeah, you said something earlier about they keep giving us things to divide us, and they're pushing some ideology. So he had his own ideology, right? But he was
Mhm.
not pushing it on anyone. He didn't have the like the instruments to do it. His only instrument was his words, right?
And a
Uh,
microphone.
what I feel is that this left side, and I'm not necessarily anti-left side or pro right side, but the left side didn't give us a choice by forcing me to to use some pronouns that I don't agree with, like to ignore reality and do something that I mean, you are like the narcissists, you are gaslighting me into doing it, you know?
Hmm.
You're not giving me a choice anymore. At least, I mean, I think Charlie was not pushing it on, I mean, he was not blaming anyone not being a Christian or not being a traditionalist or not believing what he was believing. He just wanted to talk about it, right?
Hmm.
So I feel that it was a point before Trump winning where we didn't have any choice anymore. You had to do this and like this, otherwise you were canceled, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, which is dangerous. You
They
cannot
were
do it
using
every day.
government social media
Yeah.
over in Europe. They're like going after people Europe's pretty bad, right? I mean, and the
I mean,
media plays into it.
UK just arrested that comedian. I don't know if you know about it.
I did see
It's
that.
yeah, who just made some jokes on Instagram.
Hmm.
So where are we going? You cannot blame that man talking about what he feels or what he believes in, but not blaming yourself because you are pushing something into people who doesn't want to do that thing. You know, it's like
Okay.
it's a yeah.
That
You know
brings
what I
me
mean?
to like a topic that when I was talking to the lady, when I keep bringing her up, I'm not going to mention her by name, that, like we had a disagreement of how government should work. She was talking about femicide, and like the UK had just put out this new series about young white males that were being radicalized online
Mhm.
towards the right wing ideology. Interestingly enough, I'm going to add a little side note here that the individual that shot Charlie Kirk, assassinated him, uh, was on Discord servers, was online, engaging, and he had other groups that he was involved with. They're investigating additional people, additional, groups and sources. They're trying to track down. He was engaged in this ideology online as well. So he wasn't just living it, he was engaged with it. He was actively, part of it. It seems that he had a transgender partner,
Mhm.
um, at least according to the news reporting currently. Um, so the lady that I was talking to, she was like, "Oh yeah," and I was talking about like Islam and how, the rape of Europe and how Islam has like kind of become normal, how they're arresting people for speaking out against it. But they're not arresting people that are using the words of the Quran, which can also be violent, right? So when I've looked at that, I was like, well, the reason why you're seeing an uptick, and I think they're overplaying it in right wing activism, is in response to exactly what you're saying, that they pushed so hard with their progressive, liberal activities and agendas and control the social media, the government going after Christians. And at least here in the United States, they levered government to go after, Christians. They went after parents that went to school teachers. They wanted to put people in camps that didn't do COVID lockdown, crap.
Yeah,
All of those things, what you will get is a response. You don't hit a dog and not expect to get bitten.
exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Um, at the same time, that's, and I'm not rationalizing and justifying. What I'm saying is that this individual thought that what Charlie was saying was violence, and
Mm-hmm.
that's been taught. That's been taught to this individual. That's been taught to a lot of people.
Yeah. To a lot of young minds, Micah, who are
Mhm.
just starting in life. And um, what I felt in the last years is that, so I'm gonna be very honest now. I've been wondering about myself if I got crazy so many times in the last years. I was wondering, are they really right or am I wrong? You know? I thought maybe I'm the one who is not a good judge of things. And then every time I had to remind myself, I've been reading thousands of books. I've been reading all the philosophers and psychology and so on. It's impossible for me not to have a straight mind at this point, at this age. And then
Mhm.
I decided that they are the ones who are lying to us, who are trying to pretend that reality is different than it actually is.
Mhm.
Uh,
Like
but for
crime is down and men
Hmm?
can be women, and like, see, like all of those things are, it's gaslighting. It's not true.
Yeah, yeah, it's not true. But I mean, in Europe, you had some countries where you are not addressed by um, mother, father. You were like parent one, parent two, or these kind of things. I
Mm,
mean, this is crazy. Where are you taking this society? So it was all extremist,
mm,
and of course that a young mind. So if a mind like mine, who has been reading a lot and so on, had questions about my sanity, my mental sanity, am I wrong? Am I right? I was always wondering. Imagine a young mind who hasn't read so much, who didn't get to through the same education I got to have, and so on, and we didn't have these agendas in school like they have now, you
mm,
know. So it's very hard for a young person to realize that they are in a trap where they are feeding these lies and lies and lies. You are in danger, so they are always put in this position of danger, fear. You're not going to exist anymore. They want to erase you, like you said, right? So they
yes.
make these kind of decisions, and then
Mhm.
after this tragedy happens, they are happy because in their minds they lost a threat, so they are not threatened anymore at this point, you know.
That's it.
This is why I'm saying that, and I can see the people that I know who became influencers from journalists, now they're influencers. I can see them at, it's like they got an order, and at the same time they post the same ideas, you know. When he died, they posted, good, he's dead, something like this,
Mhm.
all of them. Just like we said, justifying someone else's death. It's what he said. He said about this about guns. And by the way, I read about that declaration. It wasn't like that. He
Mm,
said that it's normal to defend the right to defend yourself.
mm,
That's what he said, not use violence. He
mm,
didn't. He never said that you can use the guns for violence. He said you can use the guns to defend yourself, which is
mm,
for the Americans very important, right?
mm. I mean, it's our Second Amendment, but also it's something that we've talked about here, at least in the last episode, but I've talked about it before, being able to defend yourself, right? Being like, if you have to, last resort, right? That's where we go. But I don't advocate for offensive violence as a martial artist. I can't do it as a yogi. I just don't. But I need to be able to be capable of defending myself. I need to have the tools. Because as we can see, people don't play fair. If this individual, this assassin, um, wanted to play fair, he could have went down, picked up the mic, and debated Charlie. That would have been fair. Like I said, on both sides, neither me nor you condone political violence or killing of anybody. So when people watch this podcast and they're like, well, okay, it's a right-leaning podcast, we're hearing, this right side of things. But remember, I don't want anybody to die. I
Of
I I think all life is important and sacred and needs to be preserved as best as possible.
I mean, Micah,
Innocent people do not innocent, non-armed, non-combatant people. That's
yeah,
like one of the saddest things for me to see.
maybe we are leaning right. Yeah, maybe we are leaning right in this podcast, but at the same time, I don't disagree with people who want to be different than I am. They can
Hmm.
be different as long as they want. I don't care, as long as you're not pushing this on me. Maintaining a normality, I think it's important, and not forcing me to do anything, because then I can force you to do this, and then we will force each other to do things, and it's going to be really bad, right?
Right.
Not going to get anywhere
I
like
mean,
this.
that's what I've said it in multiple episodes where I'm like, do whatever you want. Like, just don't make me do what you want.
Yeah.
That's as simple,
Yeah.
right? Move away, right? I'll move away, right? Not physically, but mentally, ideologically, right? I don't need if mine I don't know what my neighbors are, but like if my neighbors, on the left side of the aisle, and they have this ideology, and I'm right next to them. I'm not attacking them for it,
Sure.
and I would hope that they wouldn't attack me for it, because we both have our own little space. Just let us be, right? While we're out in society. This podcast, well, it was like combined our minds. We're sharing different point of views. Me and you, we don't always agree on everything. So we are communicating in a way. I mean, we do agree on a lot of stuff, but there are some things that we definitely don't agree on. And we've had talks about it, but I don't attack you.
I
You
mean,
don't attack
listen,
me.
like, you know that I believe in God, right?
Mhm.
You don't. So I remember we had these conversations from time to time, many times actually in our episodes, but I never tried to push my ideas on you, and you never tried to do the same to me. Like, you shouldn't believe in God because there is no God and so on. We never touched each other's beliefs, and we respected it, even though we talked on our own, ideas. And this is how I feel that the society should work. And as I said, I went from being a supporter for transgenders or for different people. That's what was my idea. I support everyone who is different. I don't care. I'm different from you. You are different from me, right?
Mhm.
Me accepting you, saying that I'm tolerating you, uh, feels like I feel superior, right? And we're not. It's not me tolerating someone or they tolerating me. It's just accepting everyone is different, and we have to live peacefully.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Moving from that point where I was supporting this idea to this point where I am today when I don't want to hear about it anymore is because they forced us into believing things that are not real.
Mhm.
Being afraid to send my kid to school and telling her, don't say you like the blue color. That's what happened in Europe a few years ago. Don't say you like tractors. Don't say you like cars as a girl because they are going to send you to an institute to see if you feel like a boy or a girl, you know?
Mhm.
But this is not normal. When you are and remember how many kids suffered from this situation.
Mhm.
So that's where many people like me decided to stop supporting this ideology and move away from it.
Mhm.
But I never killed anyone for it, right?
Absolutely. And our viewers, we know that you may agree with some of the stuff we say in these podcasts. You may disagree with us, and that's okay. That's why we have this podcast. This this podcast is kind of in a similar vibe as Charlie Kirk's, going to colleges and having these debates. It's a similar thought process that's there, sharing ideas, getting them out there. And, if you guys, the viewers, don't like what we have to say, you don't have to adopt what we're saying. We're not attacking with violence. We're using words. So with that, everybody, actually, let me ask Cornelia, do you have anything else to add to this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody watch the video with Charlie Kirk's assassination and learn from it. Learn where our society is at this point and think about what we can do to change us, the normal people, because I don't trust politicians anymore at this point.
Me either. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, comments, concern, leave them in the comment section below. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then check out the links in the description box below for our websites. And before I sign off, please, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling like you're going to lash out or attack somebody, take a moment, take a few deep breaths, take a step back, and hold on for a second. Think about what's going to happen. Think about what you're going to do. If it's violent, don't do it. For Charlie.
That's beautiful, Micah.
Bye.
Hey everybody, Coach Micah here.
and I'm going to add this on at the end of the video. So during this episode, we talked about like the behavioral aspect and like the societal impact. One thing I do want to add is that like we took a moment of silence, and I will take a moment of silence for Charlie. I will take a moment of silence for people that have been affected. But I also want to pray and take a moment of silence for the parents of the assassin. Here's why. The man that killed Charlie, the young man that killed Charlie, his dad, knowing that his child was going to face the death penalty, brought this individual to justice. That is a terrible weight and burden. So, while we take a moment of silence for Charlie, for any life lost for political violence, for speaking their voice, for trying to be heard, for anyone, innocent, non-combatant, we need to remember who we are and come back to humanity. The division, the hate, isn't helping.